vanished libraries to floating cities, the deeper we dig into the past, the more the future begins to tremble. In the next episode, we'll explore cursed tombs, forbidden writings, and the whispered warnings carved into the earth itself. Subscribe, share, and remember, the mystery isn't in what we know, but in everything we've forgotten. 1. The Library of Alexandria, the greatest loss of knowledge. Imagine a single place where the accumulated wisdom of the ancient world was gathered, copied, and preserved. From Egypt to India, from Babylon to Greece. That place was the Library of Alexandria, a beacon of knowledge, learning, and curiosity, now remembered not for what it saved, but for what it lost. Founded in the 3rd century BCE, under the rule of Ptolemy I, the library sought to collect every known text in the world. It's said that ships arriving at the port of Alexandria were searched for scrolls, which were then copied, the original kept, and the copy returned. Estimates vary, but some believe the library once held over 500,000 scrolls, covering mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, literature, and histories now lost to time. But what truly happened to the Library of Alexandria? That remains a mystery tangled in legend. Some blame Julius Caesar, whose siege in 48 BCE may have sparked the first Great Fire. Others point to later waves of destruction, under Roman rule, during Christian purges of pagan texts, or during the Muslim conquest. But no one knows for certain. There was no single day when it burned, no single villain, just silence. What was lost? Writings by Socrates, who left no books of his own. Plays, philosophies, and scientific theories from Egyptian, Persian, Indian, and Mesopotamian thinkers. Perhaps even maps, medical techniques, or histories that could shift our entire understanding of the past. Some scholars believe fragments of the library may survive, scattered across museums and monasteries, misidentified or untranslated. Others dream of a sealed chamber, still buried beneath the sands of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria remains a haunting symbol of how fragile knowledge can be and how easily the flame of civilization can flicker out. It is said, when the library burned, it was as if 1,000 souls cried out at once and were never heard again. 2. The Roman dodecahedrons, ancient objects, without explanation, scattered across the remnants of the Roman Empire, from Britain to Hungary. Archaeologists have uncovered over 120 strange objects, each small enough to hold in your hand, crafted from bronze and perfectly symmetrical. They are called Roman dodecahedrons, and they remain one of antiquity's most enduring puzzles. Each one has 12 flat faces, each face shaped as a pentagon, with a circular hole in the center. Small knobs or spheres sit on the corners. No two are exactly the same. Some have holes of varying diameters, others are more uniform. They date roughly from the 2nd to 4th centuries CE. But here's the problem. No Roman text, no record, manual, or mention ever explains what they are. They aren't mass-produced, and they're not found in military sites or urban centers. Instead, many have been unearthed in graves, sacred spaces, or isolated rural areas. So what were they for? Theories range from the mundane to the mystical. Some believe they were used as measuring tools, perhaps for calibrating pipes or fabric sizes. Others think they were candle holders, their holes reflecting symbolic light patterns. A popular theory is that they were used for astronomical or astrological purposes, measuring the angles of sunlight for planting or calculating equinoxes. More speculative ideas suggest they were used in religious rituals or served as personal talismans tied to Roman mystery cults. And then there's the practical angle. Could they have been glove-knitting tools? A few reconstructions support this, using the holes as finger-size guides. But even that raises more questions. Why such ornate craftsmanship for a simple tool? Why the knobs? Why so inconsistent in size? In the absence of written records, every answer is a guess. But one thing is certain. These objects were not random. Their form is too deliberate, too mathematical. The Roman dodecahedron is a perfect riddle from the past, precise, elegant, and completely unexplained. A reminder that even the most advanced empires held secrets they left behind, or perhaps never wanted us to know. 3. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the texts that changed religion. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd chasing a lost goat stumbled into a cave near the Dead Sea. Inside, he found clay jars filled with brittle, ancient scrolls. What he discovered would soon be recognized as one of the greatest archaeological finds in modern history: the Dead Sea Scrolls. These scrolls, over 2,000 years old, include some of the earliest known copies of the Hebrew Bible, as well as texts never seen before. Apocalyptic prophecies, sectarian laws, and mystical writings that challenge long-held beliefs. In total, over 900 manuscripts have been found, stored in 11 caves near Qumran, not far from the ruins of a mysterious settlement thought to be home to the Essenes, a reclusive Jewish sect. What makes the Dead Sea Scrolls so important? First, they pushed back the timeline. Until their discovery, the oldest copies of the Hebrew Bible dated to around 1000 CE. The scrolls predate that by a full millennium, showing just how faithfully, or not, the texts had been preserved. Second, they revealed the diversity of religious thought during the Second Temple period. Far from being monolithic, Judaism at the time was a tapestry of competing visions, messianic hopes, and apocalyptic fears. Some scrolls speak of a teacher of righteousness persecuted by a corrupt priesthood, a figure eerily similar to later depictions of religious prophets. Others contain visions of end-time battles, heavenly wars, and cosmic dualism, not unlike later Christian revelations. There are even texts that suggest alternative versions of Genesis, altered commandments, and non-canonical psalms, ideas that were later edited out or banned. But with Revelation came controversy. For decades, access to the scrolls was restricted to a small circle of scholars. Rumors of suppressed secrets, even hints that the scrolls contained hidden knowledge about early Christianity, stirred conspiracy theories. Today, the scrolls have been digitized and made public, but their meanings are still being debated, translated, and interpreted, line by line. The Dead Sea Scrolls remind us that Scripture, like history, is never set in stone, and that what we believe today may be built upon fragments of what we almost lost. 4. The Sailing Stones of Death Valley, rocks that move themselves. In the remote corner of California's Death Valley, there's a dry lake bed known as Racetrack Playa, a vast, cracked plain surrounded by mountains and silence. But something strange happens here. Something that has puzzled scientists and visitors for decades. Rocks move, not tumble, not roll. They slide, slowly, eerily, across the ground, leaving behind long, winding trails etched into the playa's dry surface. These are no pebbles. Some stones weigh up to 300 kilograms, yet have been found tens or even hundreds of meters from their original positions. No footprints, no tire marks, just smooth, curling paths as if the rocks had minds of their own. The phenomenon, dubbed the sailing stones, has sparked wild theories, paranormal activity, magnetic anomalies, earthquakes, even UFO landings. But the truth, as it turns out, is even stranger and beautifully subtle. In 2014, researchers finally captured the movement on camera. It happens only under a rare combination of conditions. A thin layer of rain turns the hard desert surface into slick mud. Overnight, a thin sheet of ice forms beneath and around the rocks. As the sun rises, the ice cracks and shifts, pushed gently by light winds, causing the rocks to slowly glide across the surface. We're talking centimeters per second, over hours, too slow for the human eye to notice in real time. But when sped up on time-lapse footage, the rocks dance silently across the playa, as if moved by unseen hands. But even with an explanation, the sailing stones retain their magic, because it's not just about rocks. It's about how mystery can survive in the modern world. It's about how nature, given time and stillness, can mimic what we thought was impossible. The racetrack playa is still littered with these wandering stones. Some may not move again for years. Others, maybe tonight. But their trails remain, frozen in sun-dried earth, like the footprints of a slow and silent secret. 5. The lost Egyptian labyrinth, a forgotten megastructure. Just west of the Nile, near the ancient city of Hawara, the Greek historian Herodotus claimed to have witnessed something extraordinary. A labyrinth so vast, so intricate, that even the pyramids paled in comparison. He wrote, "It has 12 courts and 3,000 rooms, half above ground, half beneath. I have seen it myself. Words cannot describe its grandeur." Other ancient sources like Strabo, Pliny the Elder, and Diodorus Siculus echoed similar awe, speaking of long stone corridors, sacred chambers, underground passages, and walls adorned with carvings of gods and kings. But here's the mystery. Where is it now? For centuries, explorers searched for the Egyptian labyrinth. Some found scattered ruins, foundations, pillars, fragments of walls, but nothing matching Herodotus's grand descriptions. Many dismissed the labyrinth as a myth, an exaggeration, or perhaps a misinterpretation of another structure. But in 2008, a radar survey conducted by the Madaha Expedition, a group of independent researchers, used ground-penetrating technology at the site of Hawara, and what they found was astonishing. Beneath the surface lies a massive rectilinear structure, about 300 meters wide, filled with anomalies, chambers, and cavities. The team believed they had located the underground portion of the labyrinth Herodotus described. And yet, their findings were never fully published. Egyptian authorities restricted access, and the radar images vanished from mainstream discourse. Why the silence? Some say it's bureaucratic hesitation. Others suspect the implications are too vast. Perhaps the labyrinth holds secrets about Egyptian rituals, lost knowledge, or buried rulers. If the labyrinth truly exists, and if it's as vast as described, it could be one of the largest underground complexes in the ancient world, and one of the greatest unexcavated sites in human history. A monument not to one pharaoh, but to an entire civilization's mastery of architecture, secrecy, and control. Somewhere beneath the sands of Egypt, the labyrinth may still be waiting. Its 3,000 silent rooms, echoing with the footsteps of no one. 6. Nan Madol, the floating city of the Pacific. Far across the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Pohnpei Island in Micronesia, lie the haunting ruins of Nan Madol, an ancient city built on a coral reef, surrounded by tidal canals, and completely isolated from the rest of the world. Often called the Venice of the Pacific, Nan Madol consists of over 90 small artificial islands, constructed from massive basalt columns stacked in crisscrossing patterns, some weighing up to 50 tons each. These islands form a grid-like city, complete with temples, tombs, residences, and sacred sanctuaries. But here's the mystery. How were those stones transported? Pohnpei has no source of basalt, no wheeled vehicles, and no pack animals. Yet these stones were somehow moved across land and sea and lifted into place with astonishing precision, centuries before modern machinery. Oral traditions speak of giants or magic. Some legends say the stones were flown through the air by sorcerers. Others claim the city was built by gods or by two brothers using supernatural power. Mainstream archaeology dates Nan Madol's construction between 1100 and 1600 CE, but even that timeline is debated. Some researchers point to underwater ruins surrounding the site, now submerged, as evidence of a much older phase, possibly built when sea levels were lower. The function of Nan Madol is also a mystery. It may have served as the ceremonial and political capital of the Sodelur dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei. But it was more than just a palace. It was also a necropolis, with elite burials and temples dedicated to ritual. Some believe it was deliberately isolated, a place of power meant to separate rulers from the common people, both spiritually and physically. Today, the ruins remain largely untouched. Access is difficult, and many locals consider it taboo, a place of spirits and ancient power. At night, they say, the ocean sings between the stones. Nan Madol defies geography, technology, and explanation, a stone city floating on water, built by hands we cannot name, for reasons we may never fully understand. 7. The Uffington White Horse, a symbol no one understands. On a hillside in southern England, carved into chalk and visible only from the sky, lies the Uffington White Horse, a stylized figure 110 meters long, etched into the earth. It's one of the oldest hill figures in the world, dated to over 3,000 years ago, during the late Bronze Age or early Iron Age. But here's the enigma. No one knows exactly what it means, or who made it, or why it has endured for millennia. Unlike other hill carvings, the Uffington Horse isn't realistic. It's abstract, almost modern in design. Its long, slender body and flowing lines are elegant, almost alien in shape. Some believe it represents a mythical horse deity. Others see it as a tribal symbol, or a marker of territory or pilgrimage. Curiously, the figure has been continually maintained by local communities for centuries, meaning it never fully disappeared, even during the Middle Ages. Every few years, villagers would scour the chalk, keeping the figure clear and white against the green hillside. Was it a sacred duty? A ritual passed through generations with no known origin? A nearby Iron Age hill fort called Uffington Castle hints at ancient occupation of the area, and some scholars suggest the figure may be linked to solar worship, fertility cults, or early Celtic mythology. Others point to the horse as a sky marker, visible from afar, perhaps part of a larger landscape design meant to align with celestial events. And yet, no written records describe its creation. no legends directly explain it. Its image has appeared on ancient coins and in folklore, but always as a relic, never as a revelation. The Uffington White Horse endures like a whisper from the past, not shouted, not explained, just left to watch from the hillside, its meaning galloping beyond our reach. 8. The Yonaguni Monument, a city beneath the sea? Off the coast of Yonaguni Island, Japan's westernmost point, something massive lies beneath the waves. At a depth of about 25 meters, divers have discovered a formation of stone blocks, terraces, ramps, and what appear to be staircases and platforms, all carved with sharp angles and geometric precision. This is the Yonaguni Monument, a sunken stone complex stretching over 150 meters wide and 27 meters high, and no one agrees on what it really is. First discovered in 1986 by local diver Kiichiro Arataki, the site immediately sparked debate. Some researchers, like marine geologist Masaki Kimura, believe the monument is part of an ancient submerged city, possibly dating back 10,000 years, which would place it thousands of years before the rise of known civilizations in the region. Kimura and his team have identified what they interpret as roads, walls, gates, even a step pyramid. He claims there are carvings, post holes, and inscriptions, now worn by time and tide. If true, the Yonaguni Monument would represent a lost chapter of human history, perhaps even part of a long submerged culture like Mu, the mythical Pacific equivalent of Atlantis. But others aren't convinced. Critics argue that the formation is the result of natural geological processes, particularly the region's tendency for tectonic activity and brittle sandstone that fractures in straight lines. According to this view, wave erosion and underwater landslides created the illusion of man-made architecture. The truth may lie somewhere in between. Some parts of the structure do resemble natural rock formations, but others, with their right angles, flat surfaces, and stair-like symmetry, feel too perfect to dismiss outright. Adding to the mystery, Yonaguni is also home to ancient legends of a lost land swallowed by the sea, and unusual local petroglyphs that resemble markings near the underwater site. So, is the Yonaguni Monument an ancient city, or an accidental sculpture carved by nature and time? As long as it lies beneath the waves, washed in silence, the debate and the legend will endure. 9. The Voynich Manuscript, the most mysterious book ever written. Tucked away in the Beinecke Rare Book Library at Yale University lies a manuscript unlike any other. A book of over 200 pages, written in a language no one can read, filled with strange plants, astrological diagrams, and naked women bathing in mysterious systems of tubes. It is known as the Voynich Manuscript, and it may be the most mysterious book ever written. Named after Wilfrid Voynich, the rare book dealer who purchased it in 1912, the manuscript has puzzled experts for over a century. Its pages are covered in flowing, looping text, written in an entirely unknown script. The language, if it is one, doesn't match anything from any known culture, ancient or modern. Even more baffling are the illustrations. There are plants that don't exist, star charts that don't align with any known constellations, tiny women floating in green liquid, connecting through strange channels like part of some ancient biotech system. Some pages fold out, revealing complex calendars or cosmic wheels. Carbon dating places the parchment in the early 15th century, around 1404 to 1438. But that only tells us when the book was made, not who created it or why. Some have suggested it's a pharmaceutical manual. Others think it's an alchemical codex, a lost magic book, or a work of proto-scientific speculation. There are even theories that it's a hoax, crafted in the Renaissance to sell to gullible collectors. But the consistency of the script, its grammar, structure, and repetition, suggests an underlying logic far more complex than nonsense. Modern AI and pattern recognition tools have tried to crack it and failed. Some believe the manuscript may be written in a lost or constructed language, encoded or deliberately obscured. Others point to signs it may have been written in a trance state as part of spiritual channeling. To this day, the Voynich manuscript remains unread, untouched by meaning. A book that whispers from a forgotten mind, or from one that never existed at all. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the emperor's forbidden grave. In 1974, farmers digging a well outside Xi'an, China, made a discovery that stunned the world. A buried army of life-size terracotta soldiers, each one unique, standing in silent formation. They were guarding something. Not a palace, not a fortress, but the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. Completed over 2,200 years ago, the emperor's mausoleum is a subterranean complex of enormous scale, said to contain rivers of mercury, gem-studded ceilings, and a full model of the Chinese Empire, all beneath a massive earthen mound. The ancient historian Sima Qian described it in detail. Palaces and scenic towers for 100 officials. Rare artifacts and treasures were moved there. Craftsmen were ordered to make crossbows and arrows set to shoot anyone who entered. And yet, in modern times, the central tomb has never been opened. Why? Partly out of respect. Partly because the technology to excavate such a fragile, toxic, and complex structure safely still doesn't exist. Studies have confirmed extremely high levels of mercury in the soil surrounding the tomb, suggesting the legends of mercury rivers may not be myths. Ground-penetrating radar reveals a massive sealed chamber beneath the mound, but Chinese authorities have chosen to preserve it undisturbed, at least for now. Some researchers believe that disturbing the site could cause irreversible damage to ancient materials, inks, woods, fabrics that would disintegrate the moment they are exposed to air. Others speculate that something even more profound lies inside: advanced ancient technology, unknown artifacts, or historical texts long lost to time. A few fringe theorists have even suggested the emperor attempted to build a functional afterlife simulator, or a chamber meant to preserve consciousness, tying into his lifelong obsession with immortality. For now, the emperor sleeps in the dark, surrounded by stone generals, rivers of mercury, and secrets no living hand has yet touched. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang remains the greatest unopened grave in the world, and one of the last true portals to an ancient world we may not yet be ready to understand. 11. Ratanaba, the lost Amazonian civilization. Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, beyond the reach of roads and satellites, lies a name whispered in controversy: Ratanaba. According to some, it is the ruin of an ancient mega-city built long before the Inca, hidden beneath the dense green veil of the jungle. The theory exploded onto the internet in recent years, fueled by satellite imagery, LiDAR scans, and the claims of researchers and fringe theorists alike. They argue that Ratanaba was once a central hub of a pan-Amazonian civilization, with gridded roads, pyramidal structures, and a level of sophistication that predates known South American empires by thousands of years. Supporters point to geometric patterns visible in aerial surveys, right angles, circles, and artificial-looking clearings that appear too orderly to be natural. Some even claim that Ratanaba was technologically advanced, possibly connected to global energy networks or celestial alignments. But here's where the mystery deepens. There is no mainstream archaeological confirmation of Ratanaba, no official excavation, no academic consensus. In fact, many scholars dismiss the claims outright, calling them pseudoscientific or outright fabrications. Yet, traces of lost civilizations in the Amazon are not new. In recent years, real evidence has emerged of massive pre-Columbian societies in the jungle, including earthworks, road systems, and settlements that house tens of thousands. The myth of the empty Amazon is quickly being replaced by a new understanding that the jungle once teemed with advanced, organized cultures, wiped out by disease and colonialism before their cities could be studied. So where does Ratanaba fit in? Is it simply the name given to a much larger truth? That the Amazon may still be hiding entire chapters of human history? Or is it a distraction? A myth born of clickbait and blurred satellite images? Either way, one fact remains. The rainforest covers over 5.5 million square kilometers. And we've barely scratched the surface. Somewhere beneath the vines and silence, the stones of a forgotten world may still be waiting. 12. The Curse of King Tut's Tomb, a deadly legend. In 1922, after years of fruitless digging in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, archaeologist Howard Carter made the discovery of a lifetime: the untouched tomb of Tutankhamun, the boy king who died at just 19. It was a monumental find. More than 5,000 artifacts, solid gold coffins, a jeweled death mask, and a sealed burial chamber, undisturbed for over 3,000 years. But within months of opening the tomb, strange things began to happen. Lord Carnarvon, the wealthy sponsor of the excavation, died suddenly of blood poisoning, shortly after a mosquito bite became infected. At the very moment of his death, the lights in Cairo reportedly went out. Back home in England, his dog howled and died the same night. Soon, more deaths followed. A radiologist who x-rayed the mummy died of a mysterious illness. A visitor to the tomb collapsed and died hours later. The list would eventually grow to over 20 people, all somehow connected to the tomb's opening. The press called it the mummy's curse. Some said an inscription had been found: "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the king." Whether the inscription truly existed or not, the legend spread like wildfire. Scientists have since offered rational explanations: airborne mold, ancient bacteria, psychological suggestion. Many of those involved in the excavation lived long lives, including Carter himself, who died peacefully over a decade later. But still, the myth endures. Why? Perhaps because it taps into something primal. The fear that we are not meant to touch the dead, that ancient power still lingers in sealed chambers, and that some knowledge comes with a price. Today, the treasures of King Tut rest safely in museums. His tomb is a tourist attraction. But for some, the air inside that chamber still feels heavy, still dangerous. Whether curse or coincidence, the story of King Tut's tomb is more than archaeology. It's a reminder. When we dig into the past, sometimes the past digs back. from symbols carved into hillsides to cities lost beneath the sea. From books no one can read to tombs no one dares to open. And perhaps that's the point, that the past was never meant to be fully understood, only felt, uncovered, piece by piece, in silence, in mystery, in awe. Because the earth is old, and its memory runs deeper than time. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe, share, and stay curious. The ancient world still has stories to tell, and we've only just begun.